Hey guys, welcome to Living Room once again. Today I have Olayinka with me. Hi Olayinka, how are you today?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad to have you here. I mean, I read your bio and it's so impressive to see someone, a woman of color, to be actually rising up in the world of technology.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers out there?
Yes, sure. My name is Olayinka Odeniran. I am a cybersecurity expert. I came to cybersecurity through a transition. I used to be a chief compliance officer. I worked for the financial industry for over 16 years as a compliance professional, and I moved up the rank and became a chief compliance officer. About some years back, I decided to transition into cybersecurity. The reasons why is because as a CCO, our job became more prevalent in making sure that the firm was secure. And so working with IT, I got a hands-on information, detailed information about cybersecurity and the importance of that in the particular industry. And it's funny enough because I believe cybersecurity encompasses a whole lot of just more than technology. It's also the people. So, and a lot of the cybersecurity aspect that's now transitioned to IT, we as compliance officers used to be involved in, like making sure that the right account information has been sent to the right clients, as well as making sure that data privacy is kept intact whenever paper or documents are moved from office to office or outside of the office, et cetera. So we were always involved in making sure that the records were secure. And it was an easy transition for me to have going into cybersecurity. And I found that I love being in this industry right now. And I have my own cybersecurity consulting business called CybSecwatch, and that deals with all aspects of cybersecurity. But in particular, we deal with social engineering, making sure that the human factor in cybersecurity continues to be the one area that we continue to drive and hone into, and making sure that firms as well as individuals are secure while they're online.
That's really interesting, and I really like how you shared it with so much of passion. I mean, I can see that you're really passionate about this space. I also wanted to understand a little bit about what you do with the young women. I see that you actually started this thing called this initiative for young women to get started in STEM. Do you want to also talk about a little bit about that as well?
Yes. So when I was young, I was very much interested in science and math. And the further up I went all the way through college because I thought that I was going to be a doctor. I went to be a pediatrician, but got into chemistry, and the labs were just something that I was not interested in continuing. So I decided to stop my science career right there. But however, when I was going through the different classes in elementary school, high school, et cetera, I realized that the number of females or individuals that look like me kept decreasing. And now that I'm back in the science field, I'm realizing that when I look to my left and my right, that there's not enough women in this field. And so, and also I have an 11-year-old daughter. I wanted to make sure that as she grows up, she has colleagues that look like her, because it's a tough industry to be in. It's a male dominated industry. And when we narrow it down to even, people of color, there's not a lot of us in this industry. And those that are in the industry, they're finding that it's harder to continue to be in this industry because of the different dynamics within, and, the different loopholes that we have to go through just to prove ourselves that we belong here. And so I wanted to make sure that going forward in creating the future, that my daughter and colleagues that look like her will not go through the same thing that we're going through or have gone through, and we'll be able to see individuals that look like her and have that support in continuing further their careers in any type of STEM. So I created a STEM project that deals with underprivileged girls, and it's introducing them to all the different type of STEM professions, and by way of female professionals who will come in and speak to them, introduce them to their particular field, and they get a hands-on introduction into that particular STEM industry, a subsection. And we've done cybersecurity, we've done aerospace, we've done blockchain even, and so many different aspects of STEM. The young girls love it. It's girls 6 to high school age who were part of this program, and everyone seems to love it. Next project that I'm working on is trying to do an all-girls drone program, so that girls can be introduced into drone as well.
And I love the fact that all these topics that you're talking about, right? Drones, automation, cybersecurity, is predominantly a male-dominated industry. I think it's very rare to see women in this field. And if you're talking about it's really true. If you're talking about women of color, that's even rare. Also important to give young women a chance and opportunity to know about this space and then see if they're interested in it. I think a lot of times, for young girls, right, you hardly hear people say, would you like to be a technology expert? I think a lot of times our parents would always say, like, you should be maybe an accountant, you can try to be a doctor, a lawyer, but never something like a technology or even like an engineering space, because they identify it with it's a male dominated industry. It's more for males and not for females. But I think females like yourself who have been successful in this field can be an example to show that women can cut it out for this kind of industry, and maybe we never know, we can excel even better because of creativity, because of our multitasking abilities as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And when we're in technology right now, and it's because of technology that you and I are able to communicate tonight. You're in Singapore, I'm in the DC area, so yeah. It's like this great use of technology. But just imagine that, because it's the technology is kind of one-sidedness. It doesn't allow us to be able to tap into that creativity from everyone. And especially when we're going towards AI and like you mentioned, automation and and robotics as well. So it's very important to be able to, use all kinds of thought process from everyone in order to build these type of future. In biometrics right now, individuals that look like me sometimes aren't detected, and that's like the lack of diversity in structuring those type of metrics, right? And so it's important for people like myself, as well as you, to be involved in this, because we're creating the future. It's going to be used by everyone. It's not going to be used by a certain group of people. So in order for it to be tested and created and developed in a certain way, you need input from everyone. And also for the young girls, it's very important to be able to be introduced to different aspects of STEM. It wasn't until I got into college that I realized, I could have created my own major. Those are some things that you just don't get exposed to if you're coming from certain demographics of people. There are people who have that knowledge, but not everyone has that knowledge. And I believe, like you mentioned, knowledge is power, right? And being aware of what's out there is very important for our young girls. Some of them might not go into STEM, but at least being introduced into the different STEM programs and what's out there can at least pique their curiosity. And so when it comes to, taking classes or courses, et cetera, they might be interested in just dabbing into a little bit of it.
think that's important. It's just giving them an opportunity to know what it's about. I think sometimes we won't know there's an interest in that or whether we excel in that because we are not even aware that some things like this exist. And I think a lot of times it's meant for boys. For boys to get interested in this area, but I think girls can do equally well if they are at least exposed to it. And it's right, they might not they might love it, they might not love it, but at least they have a chance to know that I can be good at maths, I can be good at technology, I can actually build things.
Yeah, and that's 100% true. Because of the movie Hidden Figures, we found out that females were involved in that part of NASA, right? When it was always portrayed as a male dominated industry, but then we found out that Black women were involved in certain part of transitioning IBM computers into the NASA mainframe. So it's very important to understand that females have always been here, but they have not taken the front positions and been in the forefront of a lot of these discoveries. They've always been in the back end, and they haven't been featured or we haven't heard their story that they've been predominantly involved in all kinds of STEM. And so I think those type of history, those type of information is very important to continue to get girls to be involved and be interested in STEM and realize that it's not a male-dominated industry. Just because there's a lot of males in it doesn't mean that it's meant for only guys to be involved in it. I think as females, we tend to think differently, right? We tend to come with compassion, and that's very important when you're dealing with science and technology. And so that type of thought process is very important in this industry.
And I agree that you have said that because I actually have been reading up on with the rise of technology, right? They are actually even now they're looking for a different type of CIOs to come into the picture. Mm-hmm. So the CIOs, in the days before, when you have CIOs, compliance officers, they are very process driven. They're very strategic people. So they actually they are it's all about I get my process done. I make sure the numbers are in, the technologies. It's efficient, it's good, and that's it. Do not ask me to do anything else. But now the CIOs have to rise up. They have to have soft skills. Mm-hmm. They have to know how to communicate. They have to know how to collaborate with their team. Empathy has been the number one quality that CIOs need to rise up because and it's true. And for women like us, we already have that.
Yeah.
And when we are in this kind of a field where we are a CIO or a in a compliance or a space like this, we have that qualities that's already in us, and we can tap into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. Yeah, and when I first started in compliance, there wasn't a lot of female compliance officers. It was also a male dominated. It seems like I always go into these male dominated. Also a male-dominated industry, and my first boss was a male, and he happened to come by way of accounting. And typically, for the financial industry, compliance officers have always had a legal background, and I didn't have a legal background when I came on board. And I happened to find a boss that also didn't have a legal background, so he saw the potential in what I had and understanding the different regulations and how to apply these regulations. And, when I came in, compliance was like the bad cop. Nobody wanted to deal with compliance and because they were so rigid, right? And as a female, I knew that, okay, well, I'm short, I'm a petite female. Who's going to take me seriously? So I needed to try a different approach. My approach to compliance was more about education. I felt that if people understood the policy as opposed to just pushing the policy to them, that they would know what to do. And it worked. It worked differently than it used to. People would come to me and actually utilize my resources and, ask me questions before they even thought about doing certain things because they knew through education and our interaction that, there might be some loopholes there or some gray areas that they need to talk to me about before they go ahead and, do certain marketing campaigns or solicit clients, et cetera, et cetera. So it was that empathy, bringing that in, as well as thinking from a different perspective about the how to apply compliance in the corporate world, that allowed me to grow in my field. And also, I would like to say that allowed, my colleagues at the time to understand compliance a little bit more, and the importance of how it's not only keeping the firm secure, but also themselves. So I think us females have that power and that ability to change the direction that STEM is going into, and make it applicable for everyone and not just, certain groups of people.
And that's so true, and that's really good at how you shared. I know, because when you have, and it's like, it's the whole package, right? I liked what you said, that you are petite, and your personality is this, and then you are in a male-dominated industry where you will be giving instructions, and sometimes it's not going to be, I would say, like it's not going to be easy when you have to give out orders or give out instructions, and you might not have everyone on the same page. Not everyone will be like, want to follow your leadership. So as when you were growing in that journey in your career, right, what were the obstacles that you faced?
So the obstacles was more so trying to get people to see me as an authority. As I mentioned, it was a male dominated. I was one of the only females there. My height, but I have a loud voice if I need to. So I knew that when they look at me, they probably didn't see an authority. And so I didn't want to be a pushover. So I had to think strategically, how am I going to get these people to hear what I have to say, as well as apply what I have to say, because it's not just for the company, but it's also for themselves. So it was more approaching it as an education than, as an authority figure, and because I did that, I was able to garnish their respect. And, at the same time, the authority that I had start to shine through, not because I was forcing them, but because I was working with them to apply these and try to help them find ways to make sure that they're not violating any regulatory rules or regulations. So it was initially the fear that I had. I needed to get over that, but also getting them to trust me enough to come into my office, because I always had an open door policy wherever I went. That, because my livelihood was also on the spot as well. Like, if the firm, ends up getting sanctioned, they're going to look to their compliance officer or their chief compliance officer and say, what did you do wrong? Why didn't you catch that? So it was always, coming from that perspective, that I'm not only helping you, I'm helping the firm as well as myself. So it allowed me to apply it a different way.
And it's true, because you want to be real at the same time. You don't want to come across as pushy, and you don't want to be seen as a pushover. I think it's very interesting, like for females, right, when they are rising up to be leaders. I think this is one of the challenges that a lot of us face, because sometimes our personalities might not be that loud, and then sometimes we have a hard time like making sure that someone follows our orders. Like, I think when I started out in my career, I wasn't as loud as well. So I was very soft-spoken, and I can imagine that when I actually sent out, say, an instruction or say something, it wasn't accepted. So it wasn't like, people were not responding. And it took me some time to actually, find a kind of leadership style that I was comfortable with, and I was able to use that. And I also wanted to talk to you about another thing that I frequently find that happens in this space is when, for women, right, it's like we are portrayed and seen in a different light. So sometimes when we go into a male-dominated industry, right, we are not seen seriously. We could be like overlooked, and sometimes we might even have like comments, or like, oh, you're just, like, you're just a pretty face, you're just there just for the sake of it, the opinions don't matter. So what do you think for women, especially for young girls, right? They kind of find themselves like, I want to be good in my job, but at the same time I'm being like, kind of I would say, like, kind of like, hold back, so you're not able to like fully explore your potential. So what would you say to women, who are stuck in this kind of stage?
There's a few things that they need to think about. Could they improve in their different approach? Because I know as females, we tend to have an imposter syndrome and believe that we don't belong. And one thing that they have to come with is the confidence that they belong as well as the next person, right? And with that confidence, find a mentor, find someone within the company that you can open up to and share information with. That individual should be someone who's been with the company for a while. Doesn't necessarily have to be a senior management, but someone who you could confide in, and share that information and seek their feedback. They might be able to put you in touch with the right people for you to gain a little bit more confidence about yourself, or give you additional items or action steps to take. Always document. If you believe that your manager or someone higher up is not taking your ideas seriously, always find a way to document. I like emails, because emails at least gives a paper trail of the thought process in your ideas. So if you have something that you want to share with leadership, make sure it's in an email format, and make sure it's written in a way that it's clear and concise, and share that information with your boss or whomever you need to share it with. That way you at least have a paper trail. And when it comes to performance review, you have documentation to say, hey, I suggested this information. This is, what I thought about it, et cetera. And you have, you have proof that could help you with your performance review. Another thing is I would try to have a life outside of work, because right now we're probably majority of the world is working from home at this point. I know in the US, we're definitely stuck at working from home because of the pandemic. And so instead of having a personal life, our personal life is now work life, because we're probably on the computer longer than we usually are if we were to go to work. So try to have that separation as much as possible, because it's important for you to have a peace of mind, as well as a well-balanced aura around you. And try to step away from work, have that time to yourself just to think clearly, because the pressures of work, especially in the pandemic that we're in right now, can be overbearing. But just you need that separation, that work and that life, need to be separated. But I think the biggest thing is know that imposter syndrome, everyone goes through it. It does not mean that you do not deserve to be where you are. You do deserve that. And also always have confidence in yourself and what you bring to the table. Find a mentor. It's definitely important for you to seek someone that you can share your thought process with, as well as get some feedback, some really good hardcore feedback from, and have that work-life balance, where you know that you're definitely detaching yourself from work.
I like that you shared on that imposter syndrome, because I think I see that a lot in the workplace these days, and I think it's easy to fall into that, into that mentality when you hear it so much that people think that what, you don't belong here, and you don't matter, your contributions don't matter, and I think sometimes it's really right that it's like we have to take a stand for ourselves, and we have to believe in what we do, be confident of that self, because some of these things, right, it's not something that can be can be taught. You have to actually go about it and make sure that you are motivating yourself, and I always believe, and I always share this so much in my own YouTube channels, a lot of times is, I always believe that criticisms should be taken, you should take it when you feel like it's going to impact your life. If it's going to help you to improve, then you should just receive it. But if you feel like it's not going to help you at all, it's just going to bring you down, I think we should just do away with that.
Yeah. And
because a lot of times at work.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that, because, one thing you have to realize is that in this world, everyone has imposter syndrome. Even people who have been, on leadership team have imposter syndrome. And everyone at some point goes through that process where they feel like, they don't belong, or people are going to find out that, they're not as smart as they're portraying to be. So it's okay. Just realize that it's okay. And like Siobhan mentioned, just take the good and then disregard the bad, because, there's always going to be people out there that's always going to try to put you down because they see that you're doing a great thing. And for some reason, they just can't take it. So it's, you have to balance the two. Is it good criticism or is it bad criticism? And oftentimes there's a lot of bad criticism out there. So take it with a grain of salt and just move on. You should be more confident in yourself.
And for yourself, Olayinka, so what do you do when you feel like demotivated, or when you feel like you've just kind of hit a wall? So what do you do to get back into that momentum?
So I do a few things. One thing is it's funny because in my life, I've gone through so many different transformations. I would say in my 20s, I had a lot of imposter syndrome, and it also allowed me to get through, to have a breakthrough where I'm just like, you know what, I am the bomb, whatever I do is great, and no one can shake my confidence in me. Now that doesn't mean that I don't self-reflect or, but, the persona that I put out is, look, I'm doing the best that I can. I know, what I know, and, I'm going to portray myself as a confident person, because that's how I want people to perceive me, because I do know what I'm doing. But at the same time, when those things get hard and you get a lot of criticism, I like to meditate. I like to step back. Like I mentioned, work-life balance, just step back and just, take some time to myself and just say, you know what? I need to analyze this. I overanalyze everything, but, I'm trying as I get older not to do that, but I need to analyze this, take it for what it is, and digest it and just remove myself from it. If there's areas where I can improve upon, I will definitely improve upon it. And if there's areas where, I can't, then I'll just see it as, something that I need to work on, or it's just not my area of expertise or area to focus on. There's so much out there for all of us. And there's a wealth of knowledge that we all maintain. And, nothing should dim your light. And so I try to have a positive thought process. I have affirmations that I have for myself, as well as I listen to frequency vibrations that peaks my mood, my emotions. And I think it's very important for us to all find something that's going to get us, in the right type of positive vibration or positive attitude.
And I do like the fact that you mentioned your own persona, and I think it's important because it's like a lot of times we are concerned about how others see us, but it always starts from our own selves, our own being. Like, how do you see yourself? If you see yourself as this person, as this confident person, and that doesn't mean you need to know it all, because sometimes we just are not able to absorb that much of knowledge. But I think if you know for yourself, and also not be afraid of making mistakes. I think a lot of times I've noticed it in my own group of friends as well. Like, we are afraid of speaking up. We are afraid of saying something because we feel like, what if I say something that's wrong? What if I say something that's stupid? So, all this is really starts from yourself as how you see it. I mean, even if you make mistakes, you know that it's okay. I make a mistake. I'm just learning. I'm just who I am. That doesn't stop me from being confident as a person, stop me at being excelling at what I do. I think as you go about having that kind of an image in your, in yourself, it comes out naturally and people can see that. And that's why I think what you say is so important. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does. For my daughter, she's 11. And so she's going through those, ups and downs and, trying to figure herself out. And, she's gotten to a point where she doesn't want to make any mistakes. And if she does make mistakes, she's down on herself. And I tell her mistakes are meant to be made. Make as much mistakes, fail as much as possible, because that's how you learn, that's life teaching you, life education. And it's important to learn as much as possible, because you're going to realize that those type of situations are going to come back again. And this time around, because you've made the mistakes, you've learned from it, you're able to, project yourself as a better person this time around and excel in that particular situation that you might have failed in the past. So it's important to fail. I know it's a weird way of saying things, but it's important to fail, because failing means that you tried, right? It means that you gave it your effort. It means that you conquered your fear, and it means that you move forward. So it's important for you to fail in that aspect.
And that's important because I think a lot of times, right, the fear of failure keeps us from trying anything. The fear of failure keeps us from moving forward. But I think if you look at it as, if I failed, it's okay, but I've tried something, and that failure, right, and you can always go with the mindset that if I do fail, I can take away something from it. Like, why did I fail? Evaluate the situation to know that, what can you learn from that? And how can you improve yourself to avoid making that same mistake again? And that's where I think you have actually put it in a way to your daughter, to even start that from that young age, right? To curb that fear of not even wanting to try. I think that's really amazing. And Olayinka, just to what's next for you? What's in store for you next?
Well, I am currently writing a book on cybersecurity. It's a book that's hopefully that people will find a lot of valuable information about. One thing that I'm an advocate of, and I mentioned earlier, is that cybersecurity is not just about the technology, because if we go towards that approach, we're going to fail. It's already setting ourselves up to fail. Regardless of the amount of technical or application or system controls, et cetera, that you have in place, you're always going to have some kind of event, some kind of breach, some kind of incident, because those things are made by humans, right? And they're controlled by humans. And, it's the human factor that's more important for us to focus on than anything, because, if there's a wrong password, guess who wrote those wrong passwords? If there's a malware that was introduced into the system, how is it introduced to the system? Something happened that included the human factor in it. So it's the human factor that's very important in cybersecurity. And until, the whole industry understands that, as well as corporations understand that, and put enough effort into it, we're always going to have this uphill battle in keeping our data and our information secure. So that's what my book is focused on. I'm also I have a company that focuses on blockchain, educating the Black community on blockchain and fintech, as well as other future technology. So I'm working on that as well. And we're creating more educational pieces, and also trying to start an incubator program to feature more Black women focused projects that are going to be on the blockchain protocols.
Wow, that sounds amazing, and sounds like a lot of things to do. But I wish you all the best in your journey, and I just hope that that you actually be such an impact in your community, right? And I think that you're going to see that fruits of it, the results of it in the later years when you see the young women stepping up and people getting more involved, like the women in the Black community being more involved in like the technology space and the fintech space. And I think it's nice to see yourself being, the leader among this, like, taking the initiative to pave the way for the next generation to come on board as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Olayinka, is there a quote that you live by?
Yes. Well, one of them I've already mentioned, fail and fail big is one of my code. And always, try your best. That's all we can do. We can all try our best without having that fear that our best is not good enough. Your best is good enough.
And as we are coming to the end of the section, is there any practical takeaways that you would like to leave behind for the viewers?
Yeah, when we're thinking about the future, make sure we think about everyone and we include everyone at the table. It's important that we not have a narrow viewpoint about how we create the future and realize that we live in this world with everyone from all kinds of demographics, all kinds of background. And it's here for a reason. We're put onto this earth with everyone for a reason. And so when we're creating that future, we have to make sure that, everyone is included, because we don't know how we're connected, but we do know that we're all significant.
Thanks for sharing. And so as we've come to the end of this section, I just want to thank Olayinka for your time and for all the work that you're doing, especially with this space, which is like it's upcoming. And I think it's going to give a lot of young women out there an inspiration to go into the technology space. And I do look forward to the release of your book. So what I'll do is I will share Olayinka's details and her websites and all that on all my social media platforms. So you can hit her up if you need to. Get in touch with her if you have anything that you want to know about her initiative or her books or even the work that she's doing within her community.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for watching, and I do look forward again to hearing from you, Olayinka.
I look forward to hearing from you as well. Thank you very much, Vaughn.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.